What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, and the New York Giants are entering the second season of Brian Daboll's tenure as head coach. Now, this past season, the best season of Daniel Jones' career. He set career highs in passing yards, rushing touchdowns, rushing yards, set a career low in interception percentage, and led the NFL with the lowest interception percentage. It was a great year from Daniel Jones, and he went on to earn himself a 4-year, $160 million contract extension because of this great season. But Brian Daboll thinks that his quarterback is only getting started. Recently, Daboll let out some quotes at the NFL's annual meetings with the ownership, talking about Daniel Jones and how he believes that there's still a lot of room for his quarterback to grow and reach his ceiling. So we're going to go ahead and dive into those quotes from Brian Daboll, discuss what what could be in store for Daniel Jones this upcoming 2023 season on this episode. But make sure to leave a like if you do enjoy, and subscribe to the channel down below if you are new, and ring the bell so you don't miss an episode. But without further ado, Brian Daboll, here's the quote that I really want to harness in on. So regarding Daniel Jones and Brian Daboll's potential, or expectations for his potential in this upcoming season. Quote, "It's his second year in the system. I don't think he's had continuity since he's been there. We all can do a better job. I think that he really adapted to the things that we were asking him to do. We tried to implement a lot of the things he likes to do. That's just another step going into the offseason of adding some more pieces, more players around him, and also him growing into the quarterback that we think he can be." End quote. So I really like that last sentence there, where Daboll is saying that Daniel Jones is not yet the quarterback that they think he can be or that they want him to be. They think that he can be so much more, and that's where they're trying to get him now. And that ties into another quote that he added, talking about just the extra talent that the Giants added to this roster, where you see what he says in an earlier quote, saying that they added a lot of talent to the offense just to make Daniel Jones a better player. And when you take a look at this offense, it is majorly improved, right? I mean, Saquon Barkley's back on the franchise tag. Maybe he gets extended. But you look at the receiving core that the Giants have put out there for Daniel Jones. Paris Campbell, big upgrade. Darius Slayton, back and extended. And we know that they're in the market for another receiver in the draft. Plus, of course, the big offseason acquisition of Darren Waller. I think that the acquisition of Darren Waller could be just as impactful as a wide receiver one. If he stays healthy this season, he has the potential to be a true dynamic threat for the Giants. And if you take a look at some of the stats, Daniel Jones loves throwing to tight ends. When Evan Engram was with the New York Giants, I know not a lot of fans want to hear me talk about Evan Engram, but when he was with the Giants, he was in the top 3 in the NFL in targets per game during 2 of his seasons here. So considering that Evan Engram is one of those dynamic, athletic, wide receiver tight ends, and Darren Waller is basically the upgraded version of that, you can bet yourself that you're going to see Daniel Jones throw the ball to Darren Waller at a very, very high rate this upcoming season. But here's a quote that Brian Daboll had about entering the second year with the New York Giants. Quote, "I thought it was a good start," saying about his first season. "We laid a foundation, but we have a long way to go. Certainly grateful for the opportunity, but made a lot of mistakes along the way, and we're trying to learn from them throughout the offseason." Now, he continued on to say the Daniel Jones quote that I just read. But one of the other things that he mentioned is that the Giants, and I think this ties into him saying that he has learned a lot about what he needs to do this offseason. He talked about adding more talent to the roster, saying, quote, "That's just another step going into the offseason of adding some more pieces, more players around Daniel Jones, and also him growing into the quarterback that we think he can be." End quote, like I said earlier. So when you look at Daniel Jones, where he's at right now, he's coming off of the best season of his career. But Brian Daboll is making it well known that the Giants just added a bunch of talent and might not be done adding more talent around him, because that is part of making him the quarterback that he can be. Daniel Jones will not reach his ceiling, will not reach his maximum potential until the Giants put a very competent offense around him, add a whole bunch of skill position players, talented skill position players to the mix for Daniel Jones to thrive with. And I think that is really important. Again, the premier signing, the trade of Darren Waller. Of course, they restructured his contract, so he's definitely here for the next several seasons. But now with Daniel Jones on this long-term extension, having a true playmaker in Darren Waller, and still having Saquon Barkley out of the backfield, that is the key to getting DJ to reach his ceiling. I really like these quotes from Brian Daboll, and I do think that it sheds a lot of light into the kind of the Giants mindset entering this upcoming season, because, you could say that the Giants, they accomplished a whole lot this past year. They made the postseason for the first time since 2016. They won their first postseason game since 2012. It was a big year for the New York Giants, but Brian Daboll doesn't really look at it that way according to these quotes. He's kind of taking the perspective of, it was a good year to start out, but it wasn't enough. enough. The Giants made some mistakes. They could have made it deeper in the playoffs if they didn't make those mistakes, particularly in the roster building department. Daniel Jones needed more weapons, and we know, considering everything that they did in the offseason in free agency, they also feel like the defense needs more talent. So I think that the Giants have the right mindset here, not talking about building on success, but just building on a foundation, a little bit of a rocky foundation, according to Daboll, just saying that they made mistakes and they're learning how to iron those things out and really build up a mansion, hopefully, on the foundation that they built with Daniel Jones and the rest of the offensive playmakers. So I like what the moves that the Giants made this offseason. You take a look at extending Sterling Shepard on such a cheap contract. I love that. Keeps the locker room energized, keeps a really good leader in the locker room. And then Darius Slayton seems like he might have taken less money to stay with the Giants, but he's a big Daniel Jones fan like we all are, and he really wanted to continue playing with him. And I think that's part of what makes Daniel Jones so special, is that fans or players want to play with him. They want to be a part of this team because Daniel Jones is here. I think that's something very important to note. Also, when you take a look at Darren Waller, his first day in the Giants facility, he was meeting with Daniel Jones. He instantly got connected with DJ, got to know him a lot better, and of course is ready to go this regular season with Daniel Jones as his franchise quarterback. And we all are. And Brian Daboll is as well. You think about the kind of career trajectory that Josh Allen had with Brian Daboll when Daboll was the offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills. Taking a look back on that, Josh Allen was really bad as a rookie. Like, he was a bad quarterback. Objectively, he was poor. 2018, he started to turn it on towards the end of the year. His sophomore season was better, but it wasn't until year 3 that he really took off and started to make a name for himself after the Giants acquired him, a premier playmaker in Stephon Diggs. But if you take a look at the New York Giants, they didn't have that opportunity last offseason to get that premier playmaker for Daniel Jones, but this offseason, they have made it a massive point of emphasis to go out there and get a real arsenal of weapons for Daniel Jones. Darren Waller, that's your premier playmaker in the receiving game. But now we know that the Giants are meeting with some of the top prospects in this year's class. Jordan Addison, Jackson Smith and Jigba. We know that they met with Quentin Johnston at the Combine. We know that they've met with Zay Flowers. So the Giants, fine whining and dining all of these top receiver prospects, seems like they're narrowing it down, ranking these players on their board and figuring out who they want to target in the first round of this draft, because it seems like Brian Daboll, he knows that they have not done enough. Yes, they've added some talent around Daniel Jones, but getting him that true number one wide receiver paired with a guy like Darren Waller, that's the key. That's what's going to make Daniel Jones really have that breakout, similar to the one that Josh Allen had in 2020 during his MVP campaign. He didn't win MVP, but he came pretty damn close, bringing the Buffalo Bills to the AFC Conference Championship. And I think that Brian Daboll can definitely take the Giants that deep into the postseason, just like he did the Buffalo Bills. You look at what Daboll's building, it's very similar to what they built over in Buffalo. A lot of quick, short, slot receivers who can make plays after the catch, great route runners. That's what the Giants are bringing in-house right now. They've got guys like of course, Sterling Shepard. Wan'Dale Robinson is a great example of that. And even guys like Jamison Crowder, veteran players who they're signing just to kind of be backup utility pieces that can jump into the offensive lineup and make an impact as these little quick slot receivers who know how to separate. That's what the Buffalo Bills had when Daboll was there, and now that's what he's building with the New York Giants. So clearly there is a model to success here, and Daboll is following it, and he knows that the center of it all is Daniel Jones. So the New York Giants building these pieces. I like the quote from Brian Daboll saying that they're going to add more talent around him. I think that's really important as we look ahead to this upcoming draft. We all know that the Giants are in the market for a receiver in the draft. We want to see them take one in the first round. I think this quote, talking about building around Daniel Jones, adding more weapons, I think that says a lot on the Giants' mindset going into this draft. And I also think all of these quotes say a lot about how the Giants are still hungry. They're not okay after being bounced in the divisional round of the postseason in 2022. They want to go into 2023 and win it all, is really the vibe that I'm getting from Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll. They've taken some swings for the fences in this offseason. The trade for Darren Waller, I know there's a lot of risk involved with that trade because he is pretty injury prone, but if he pans out as being a healthy starting level player this upcoming season, the New York Giants are in store for a great year out of their offense, combined with Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones, and whichever wide receiver they end up landing in the first few rounds of the 2023 NFL draft. So I'm super excited. And of course, we've got you covered with all updates on the Giants offense and everything New York Giants right here on Fireside Giants. So make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this episode and comment your thoughts on the topic down below in the comment section. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you are new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode. I will catch you all on the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Giants.
myself.